Hello, let's talk about the life cycle of the Harkor. Over the course of their lives, the Harkor morph through 5 distinct phases, not including hatching from an egg. The first 2 stages are the same for all Harkor, the larva and then the grub. Once they reach the 3rd stage, the Harkoresh, Harkorak and Harkorim diverge widely, only converging back on a familiar body plan in their 5th and final stage. The first stage is the shortest by a long shot. The newborn larvae are little more than a sentient mouth, their jaws and razor-sharp teeth the only fully developed part of their body. From the moment they hatch, for a few brief and terrible hours, the newborn Harkor are compelled to massacre their siblings, only stopping once 1 or 2 are left alive. Once the bloodshed is done, they immediately turn into a cocoon, and a few days later a grub hatches. The second stage is also the second longest, at least in theory. The grub stage lasts between 15 to 20 years, while an adult doesn't age, a bit like a lobster. The grub's first set of arms, eyes and antennae are fully developed at this stage. Their age can be measured by their size. They grow linearly as they age, starting the size of a man's fist and eventually reaching the size of a small cat. The grubs will spend almost their entire lives hooked into their parents' back and will viciously fight over this territory with their siblings. Their main source of nutrition are whichever parasites they can find on their parents' skin and what few leftovers the adults will share with them. This is one of the 3 roles a grub fills in the Harkor enclave. First, removing parasites from their parent. Second, serving as another set of eyes and ears while the adults are asleep. Third, and maybe most importantly, their parent will use them as necromantic batteries. We'll go over grubs in more detail later, but this is the basic rundown. The third is the worker stage, usually lasting a year or 2 at most. The Harkoresh, Harkorak and Harkorim turn into the spinneret, the tunneler and the pistolier respectively. At this point in their lives, the Harkor can survive on their own, though the majority will choose or be forced to stay with their pod. The spinneret resembles a wolf spider, with dexterous front hands and oversized abdomen for silk production. In the wild, they make traps, tools, and crude clothes for adults. In Alaith, they spend the entire duration of this life stage completely sedentary, making silk from night to day. The tunneler, as the name implies, spends most of its life digging. The front claws are massive, crude, and heavy, too big to use for anything except manual labour. They are also dim and voracious, as expected of a Korak. The pistolier has 2 enormous claws, which it uses to fire devastating water blasts, or even its own siblings. The adults often take them on hunts, carrying them on their shoulders like an oversized crossbow, or a spare set of carapace in case of injury. The 4th stage, the Mantoid, is very brief, lasting a few weeks at most. At this point, the Harkor becomes aggressive and solitary, and will try to get as far away as it can from its pod. On their own, they are almost more dangerous than a single adult, but their mind devolves into that of a slavering beast. Every waking moment in the Mantoid's life is spent hunting, and its ultimate purpose is to gather enough trophies to convince an enclave to take it in. How much is enough depends on the judgment of the adults, usually becoming more unreasonable the larger the pod already is. A Mantoid that fails to gain admission into an enclave will either wither away and die, or morph on its own, turning into a doomed Mantoid adult. Finally, the adult stage. The burly, blood-spewing Harkorak, the deadly and elegant Harkoresh, and the tiny, sharp-shooting Harkorim. We won't go over the adult stages in more detail at this time. That's all for now, actually. Bye!